The galaxy was quiet. Too quiet, some said, but it was never peaceful. From the outer rim to the bright core systems, whispers of fear traveled faster than light. Entire worlds had fallen under the rule of the Virek Dominion. Ships that looked like floating mountains patrolled every star system. Their weapons could obliterate planets in minutes. Their soldiers were efficient, relentless, and utterly obedient. To the Dominion, resistance was not possible. On a small rocky planet called Ceres 4, far from the bustling trade routes, humans eked out a living in scattered mining colonies. The planet was harsh, thin atmosphere, jagged mountains, and violent storms, but humans were tougher. They built shelters from stone and metal, and they worked together day and night to survive. Out here, the Dominion seemed like a distant nightmare. Most humans believed they were too small, too weak, too insignificant to ever matter to the conquerors of the galaxy. Yet for Captain Alara Kane, the Dominion's shadow was never far. She had grown up hearing stories of lost human colonies, swallowed by alien empires. Those stories shaped her. Alara was not a soldier by birth, but by choice. She believed humans were clever, resourceful, and unpredictable, and that gave her hope. The Intrepid, a sleek, modest human warship, glided silently above Ceres 4. Its hull was scratched and scarred from decades of service, but it had something no Dominion ship had: an experienced captain who refused to follow the rules. Alara stood on the bridge, staring at the planet below. She studied the mining colony with sharp eyes, noting defenses, supply routes, and human movement. Everything was normal, nothing unusual, and yet she could feel it, the faintest tremor of danger in the air. "Captain sensors detect an incoming vessel," said Lieutenant Ramos, her second in command. His fingers danced over the control panel as he adjusted the readings. "It's Virek, small patrol ship but heading straight for the colony." Alara didn't flinch. "How close?" 10,000 kilometers and closing fast. They'll be in orbit in 30 minutes. 30 minutes, Alara murmured. She turned to her crew. "All right, everyone. Time to remind the Dominion that humans are not prey." The patrol ship appeared as a dark speck against the stars, gradually expanding into the full size of a menacing Virek vessel. Its hull was smooth, black, and alien, with glowing red lights that seemed to pierce the void. Its design was efficient, deadly, and intimidating. Inside the patrol ship, the Virek officers discussed the human colony with boredom and disdain. "Humans, a minor nuisance. I will take it in one sweep," said the commanding officer. His voice was cold, mechanical, lacking any emotion. To the Virek, humans were ants. Back on the Intrepid, Alara prepared her crew for something unusual. "Listen," she said. "They think they know what humans can do. They're wrong. Remember, they calculate numbers. We improvise. They plan steps. We think in leaps. Use the terrain. Use traps. Use your brains. And most importantly—" She paused, letting her eyes meet each member of her team. "Be human." The Dominion ship landed drones to survey the colony. The humans watched. From hidden bunkers and behind rocky ridges, they moved quietly, carrying small weapons, setting up decoys, and preparing traps. The Virek scanned the area, expecting nothing, and that gave the humans an advantage. Alara activated a small relay device. A hologram appeared over the rocky field, showing a projected image of several human soldiers positioned at different points. The Virek sensors detected them instantly, but the humans themselves were hiding elsewhere. The Virek fired their weapons, striking empty rocks. Explosions echoed across the mountains. Humans watched, unmoved, as their enemies wasted energy. Then, the humans struck. A series of timed detonations took out the Virek supply drones. The Dominion soldiers reacted too slowly. One by one, their drones crashed or were disabled. The humans had prepared traps using simple explosives, pulleys, and cables. In 30 minutes, what should have been an easy conquest had turned into a humiliating setback. From the bridge of the patrol ship, The Virek officer's cold eyes widened. Impossible! They are too clever. Human efficiency. Unacceptable. His voice rose in panic. Send reinforcements. Ilara smiled slightly. I think they'll need more than cleverness to win this war, she said quietly to herself. The patrol ship retreated, firing erratically. The humans didn't pursue. There was no need. Victory here was in survival and defiance. Even this small success sent a ripple across the colonies. Humans were learning, adapting, and proving that their ingenuity could withstand even the mightiest enemy. As the Intrepid lifted off, Ilara studied the Virek vessel retreating into the distance. This is only the beginning, she said. Ramos glanced at her. Do you think they'll come back? They always do, she replied. They always think they can crush what they don't understand. That's their mistake. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the High Council of the Virek Dominion convened. News of the failed patrol had reached them. Entire fleets had never faced such unpredictable resistance. Humans, said the lead officer, his voice a mixture of irritation and disbelief. They are different. We underestimated them. Increase. Surveillance. Do not engage without overwhelming force. Learn from this anomaly. But even the Council could not foresee how the humans would escalate. Captain Kane and her crew were not merely surviving. They were learning the Dominion's patterns, discovering weaknesses, and preparing for something greater. The galaxy was large, and humans were small, but they had something the Virek did. Not creativity, courage, and the refusal to be ruled. Ilara returned to the Intrepid's bridge, staring at the stars. Every empire has its blind spot, she said. Every conqueror makes mistakes. The Virek Dominion has many victories. But we humans, we have something they cannot predict. Ramos tilted his head. And what is that, Captain? Ilara's eyes gleamed with quiet determination. Us. That's exactly it. Us. Night fell over Series 4. The colony's miners emerged from their bunkers looking at the sky. For the first time in decades, they felt a spark of hope. Somewhere out there, humans were fighting back, and they were winning, even if only in small steps. Above the planet, the Intrepid cut through the darkness like a silver arrow. Its engines hummed with quiet strength, and its crew prepared for the challenges ahead. Captain Kane looked ahead, thinking of the countless systems under the Dominion's thumb. One ship, one crew, one mind could change the odds. Humans had survived disasters before. They had endured harsh planets, alien predators, and the cold void of space. Now the galaxy itself would witness the full measure of human resolve. As the UDU Dominion patrolled the stars, unaware of what was coming, the seeds of rebellion had already been planted. Humans were no longer just survivors, they were challengers. And in a galaxy ruled by fear, that was the most dangerous thing of all. Ilara Kane turned to her crew. Rest up, everyone. Tomorrow we plan. And when the Dominion next comes for us, they'll find humans are far harder to crush than they ever imagined. The Intrepid sailed into the night, carrying the small but determined spark of human resistance. The galaxy had yet to see what a single human warship could do. The galaxy was vast, but the shadow of the Virek Dominion stretched across it like a dark storm. Every star system under their rule trembled at the mention of their name. And yet, on a small planet in the outer rim, humans were beginning to learn that fear was not the only way to survive. Captain Ilara Kane sat on the bridge of the Intrepid, her eyes scanning the incoming messages from colonies under her protection. One transmission, from Nova Delta, caught her attention. The message was short, urgent. Virek assault fleet detected. Colony will not withstand attack alone. Request immediate assistance. Ilara's jaw tightened. The Dominion was escalating faster than anyone had expected. Ramos, she said, turning to her second-in-command. Prepare the ship for combat. Set course for Nova Delta. Maximum speed. Lieutenant Ramos nodded, fingers flying over the console. Course plotted, Captain. Estimated arrival in 12 hours, but they'll begin their assault in less than 3. Ilara frowned. Then we'll have to be faster than expected. Wake the rest of the crew. This is our first real test. Below, the humans of Nova Delta had already begun defensive preparations. Mining robots were converted into automated turrets. Crude barricades were erected in strategic choke points. Civilians, guided by engineers and retired military officers, helped construct traps from whatever materials they could find. Every human on the planet became part of the defense, aware that survival depended on ingenuity, speed, and courage. As the Intrepid approached the system, Ilara gathered her crew. "Listen carefully," she said, her voice firm but calm. "The Virek expect us to panic. They expect us to fight in predictable ways. We will do neither. We will use our brains, our speed, and our environment. The colony is small, but that's an advantage. We know the terrain. They don't. We will strike, delay, and frustrate them until they overreach. And then..." Her eyes glinted with determination. "Then we hit where it hurts most." The Intrepid entered orbit around Nova Delta. From space, the planet looked calm. Blue oceans, rocky mountains, scattered cities. But beneath the surface, humans were moving like ants, preparing for the coming storm. The first wave of Virek ships appeared on the colony's horizon. Sleek, black vessels bristling with weapons descended in formation. Their approach was precise, cold, and terrifying. From the Virek perspective, victory was guaranteed. Resistance was irrelevant. Ilara activated a communication channel, sending a single broadcast to the Virek fleet. "You will find no easy victory here. Humans resist, humans fight, and humans survive." The message was ignored. As expected, the first bombardment struck. Energy beams lashed the planet, tearing through unprepared cities. But Ilara had prepared. Shields, diversionary drones, and preset traps absorbed much of the impact. Civilians were moved into bunkers, and the automated defenses fired back with precise timing. Though outnumbered, humans refused to crumble. On the ground, Lieutenant Marek, a former engineer, led a small squad to detonate improvised traps. Explosions rocked the mountains, sending shockwaves through Virek vehicles. Drones were crushed, and a few soldiers were forced to retreat. Ilara watched from the Intrepid, adjusting strategies in real time. "Ramos," she said, "deploy the decoy fleet. Make them think reinforcements are coming from the north." Ramos obeyed. Tiny, fast ships simulated a larger force, moving in patterns that suggested an incoming human fleet. The Virek recalculated, diverting part of their force to counter the phantom threat. This small deception bought the colony precious time. Meanwhile, Ilara sent a specialized boarding team to a Virek transport ship. Humans in stealth suits infiltrated the vessel, sabotaging engines and weapon systems. One by one, Virek drones fell inactive, and the ship drifted, useless, into space. Every success, no matter how small, demoralized the enemy and emboldened the humans. The Dominion commander aboard the assault fleet was stunned. "These humans, their tactics are irregular. They anticipate us. They adapt faster than expected." His voice shook with anger, a rare crack in the Virek's otherwise controlled demeanor. Ilara smiled slightly. This was exactly what she wanted. The enemy unsure, off balance, and forced to react. "Keep watching," she told Ramos. "They'll make a mistake." And they did. In their frustration, the Virek sent a squadron too close to the planetary defenses. A carefully placed magnetic trap disabled their engines, leaving them stranded. Human fighters swooped in, exploiting the chaos. Within minutes, the Dominion lost several ships, minor losses to them, but a major psychological blow. On the ground, the civilians cheered each victory, no matter how small. Children helped engineers carry supplies. Retired miners operated heavy machinery to block roads. Everyone became part of the fight. Humans were proving something extraordinary. When cornered, they did not surrender. They adapted. By nightfall, the Virek assault slowed. They had underestimated the humans' intelligence, resilience, and sheer unpredictability. Ilara looked down at the colony, then at her crew. "We've bought them time," she said. "But the Dominion will regroup. This is just the first spark, and sparks can start fires." Ramos nodded. "Do you think they'll come back stronger?" Ilara's gaze hardened. Of course. But they'll never be ready for humans who think, who improvise, and who refuse to bow. That's our advantage. They fight with fear. We fight with brains and courage. Above, the Intrepid fired warning shots at lingering Viric drones, forcing them to retreat. Ilara knew this was only temporary. The Dominion's fleets were massive, their resources nearly limitless. Humans could not win by brute force. They would have to outthink, outmaneuver, and survive until the galaxy noticed their strength. As the first sparks of human resistance spread across Nova Delta, rumors began to circulate through the Dominion command networks. Small patrols had been destroyed by humans. A colony had survived a direct assault. The whispers carried fear. Humans are different. Ilara prepared her next move. Intelligence reports indicated the Dominion's flagship was nearby, a massive warship said to be unstoppable. She studied its design, searching for weaknesses. Humans had no chance in a straight battle, but in irregular warfare, anything was possible. In the colony, people worked tirelessly to repair damage and set new defenses. Captain Kane visited a command bunker on the surface, meeting local leaders and engineers. She encouraged them, offering strategies based on what she had learned from the Dominion's movements. Every mistake they make is an opportunity, she said, and humans do not waste opportunities. Hours later, a scout ship detected unusual energy readings from the Dominion fleet. They were repairing, reorganizing, preparing for the next assault. Ilara knew she had only bought time. Soon the Dominion would strike again, but humans were ready to respond with the same creativity and courage that had frustrated the Viric so far. Ilara gathered her crew on the bridge one final time before nightfall. Today we survived. Tomorrow we fight smarter. We cannot beat them with numbers or raw power. We beat them with our minds, our courage, and our refusal to accept defeat. That is the human way. The crew nodded, inspired and focused. Every human ship, every engineer, every soldier, every civilian had played a part in this first spark of rebellion. And from that spark, a fire could grow. A fire that might someday burn across the galaxy, challenging even the mighty Viric Dominion. Above Nova Delta, the stars shone bright and cold. But among them, a small warship moved like a silent arrow. The Intrepid sailed on, carrying the hope of humans who refused to be conquered, the spark of a resistance that could one day change the balance of power in the galaxy. The galaxy was not kind to the weak, but it was not fair to the clever either. Captain Ilara Kane knew this better than anyone. After the events on Nova Delta, she realized humans could no longer hide in distant corners of the galaxy. The Viric Dominion had noticed them, and it would come for them again, stronger, faster, more relentless. The Intrepid moved silently through deep space, carrying not only supplies and weapons but the determination of every human colony willing to resist. Ilara stood on the bridge, staring at the navigation screens. Each blip of a sensor reading was a potential ally, another human ship ready to join the fight. She called Ramos over. "Ramos, assemble a fleet," she said. "Small ships, fast ships, volunteers, anyone who wants to fight the Dominion. We need to strike before they strike again." Ramos raised an eyebrow. "You really think humans can challenge the Dominion with so few ships?" Ilara's eyes gleamed. "We don't need numbers. We need unpredictability, speed, ingenuity, and humans have all three. Bring them together and we'll show the Dominion they miscalculated." Over the next few days, ships arrived from nearby systems. Cargo vessels refitted with weapons, civilian craft modified into fighters, even old exploration vessels turned into reconnaissance ships. None were large, none were heavily armed, but each crew was determined, loyal to the human cause, and ready to fight smarter than the Dominion expected. By the time the fleet gathered, Ilara had her plan. "We won't meet them head-on," she explained to her assembled captains. "That would be suicide. Instead, we hit their supply lines, disable key stations, and force them to chase shadows. They rely on calculations, precision, and overwhelming force. We rely on creativity, speed, and surprise. Every time they predict us, we will be somewhere else. The fleet left hyperspace near the Zephyrian belt, a dangerous region of gas clouds and asteroid fields. It was perfect for ambushes, for small ships to strike larger vessels. Ilara took the Intrepid into the heart of the belt, leading the fleet. Keep tight formation, she ordered, but be ready to break apart and scatter at any moment. Their sensors will try to read our moves. Don't make it easy. The first target appeared within hours, a Dominion supply convoy transporting fuel and munitions to the front lines. The humans did not attack openly. Instead, they split into smaller teams, using the asteroids for cover. Stealth drones disabled. Communications making the convoy think it was under attack by some natural phenomenon. Then the fleet struck. Human fighters darted between asteroids, launching missiles and firing energy weapons. Dominion ships tried to respond, but the terrain hindered their large vessels. Explosions lit the belt in red and orange flashes. The humans moved quickly, destroying key supply ships, then vanishing into the shadows. Ilara watched from the bridge. Every loss we inflict weakens them, she said, and every move teaches us their patterns. They're smart but predictable. Only humans can see the gaps in their calculations. As the fleet regrouped, a new message appeared on the sensors. A massive Virek warship, the Dominion flagship, was approaching. It was larger than anything the humans had ever seen, bristling with weapons and defensive shields. Its presence radiated confidence and power, and it demanded respect. Ramos swallowed hard. That's enormous. How can we possibly fight that? Ilara smiled faintly. We're not going to fight it head-on. We're going to show it how. Humans think differently. Its strength is in its size and predictability. Its weakness is pride and overconfidence. Every massive ship has blind spots. We just have to find them. The humans spent the next day studying the flagship. Recon. Drones monitored its movements, noting shield patterns, weapon rotation, and response times. Every minute of observation gave them insight. Slowly, a plan began to form, a strike not against the ship's armor, but against the flaws the Dominion overlooked. Ilara gathered her captains again. We're not attacking its front, she said, pointing at a holographic image of the warship. We'll hit the side vents where cooling systems run. If we disable them, the ship will overheat and become immobile. Then we can decide the rest, capture, destroy, or force it to retreat. Timing will be critical. Coordination, precision, and creativity will be our weapons. The fleet moved into position. Asteroids concealed their ships, hiding them from the flagship's sensors. Small, fast teams approached from multiple directions. Each human pilot knew their part, trained to improvise if things went wrong. Every move had a purpose, but freedom to act independently was encouraged. A stark contrast to the Dominion's rigid command structure. The first attack began with stealth drones infiltrating the flagship's outer hull. Tiny explosions opened entry points into the cooling vents. Dominion alarms blared, but the humans had prepared distractions, false signals, decoy ships, and sudden energy bursts to confuse the sensors. Ilara coordinated the strikes from the Intrepid, adjusting timing as the battle unfolded. Team Alpha, move to Vent 5. Team Bravo, cover the port side with diversion drones. Timing in 3, 2, 1, now. Explosions rocked the massive warship as human boarding teams infiltrated vulnerable systems. Engineers on the Intrepid guided them remotely, providing real-time instructions. Every step was calculated, but every action was flexible. Humans thrived on unpredictability. The Dominion crew struggled to respond. Their systems were designed to counter conventional attacks, not guerrilla-style maneuvers in space. Panic spread. Orders conflicted. Ships collided with asteroids. Weapons misfired. Ramos watched the flagship's shields flicker. It's working, Captain. We're hitting the vents. Ilara nodded. Keep pressure on. Don't let them stabilize. Meanwhile, human fighters struck the exterior, destroying smaller defense drones and distracting the crew. The flagship's massive engines began to overheat as cooling systems failed. Red warning lights flashed across its hull. The Dominion commander could not believe it. Humans, how is this possible? They should be insignificant. Ilara's voice echoed through the Intrepid's bridge as she gave the final command. Board the central command. Take control or destroy if necessary. Move quickly. Timing is everything. Human boarding teams breached the command center. Using intelligence gathered from drones and recon, they bypassed security systems and neutralized key officers. The Dominion flagship, once unstoppable, now faltered under the ingenuity and courage of humans. The battle lasted hours. The galaxy might have expected the humans to fail, but every challenge the Dominion presented had been met with creativity, strategy, and human determination. By the time the flagship was neutralized, the small human fleet had suffered minimal losses compared to the Dominion's massive forces. Their ships were battered, but the morale of every crew member soared. They had done the impossible. They had challenged a warship designed to crush worlds and survived, even succeeded. Ilara looked at the aftermath from the Intrepid's bridge. Today, we've shown the Dominion that humans are not weak, not predictable, and not to be underestimated. They may have numbers, they may have firepower, but we have something they cannot calculate: the human spirit. Ramos grinned. Do you really think the galaxy is ready for that kind of statement? Ilara's eyes shone with quiet pride. They don't have a choice. The moment we fight back, the galaxy notices. And when humans rise, even the mighty Dominion must pause and take note. Above the battlefield, the stars shone cold and distant. But among them, the humans moved like sparks in the dark, small yet unstoppable. The Intrepid led its fleet into the unknown, ready for whatever the Dominion might try next. Somewhere in the galaxy, other human colonies watched the transmissions of the battle. Fear was replaced with hope, despair with determination. Humans were no longer hiding. They were emerging as challengers, proving that ingenuity, courage, and unity could overcome even the greatest odds. The Dominion flagship, once a symbol of unstoppable power, now drifted, crippled, and vulnerable. And in the minds of every human who had fought, one truth became clear: the galaxy underestimated humans at its own peril. Ilara Kane turned to her crew. We've won today, but this is only the beginning. The Dominion will return stronger, more prepared. We need to learn, adapt, and continue proving that humans cannot be conquered. Every step, every fight, every decision counts. This is our time, and we will not fail. As the fleet regrouped, a new sense of determination filled every human ship. They had faced impossible odds and survived. They had struck at the heart of the Dominion and survived. And they knew now that even a small human fleet, with courage and ingenuity, could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Above them, the stars waited, silent witnesses to the rise of a force the Viewership Dominion had never predicted. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. A small human fleet led by Captain Ilara Kane and her warship Intrepid had struck fear into the Viewership Dominion, crippling supply lines, destroying drones, and even challenging a flagship once thought unstoppable. Yet the humans knew the fight was far from over. Ilara studied the galactic maps on the bridge. The Dominion's major forces were regrouping near the Dravon sector, a densely populated system where billions of lives could be lost if the Viewership acted unchecked. Her fleet was small, underpowered, but the humans had something far stronger than numbers: creativity, coordination, and sheer unpredictability. Ramos, what's the status of the fleet? Ilara asked. All ships operational, Captain. Minimal damage from the previous skirmishes. Morale is high, but they're nervous. They know the Dominion will come for them full force this time, Ramos reported. Ilara nodded. Good. Nervous is better than overconfident. Both can be used. The plan was daring. Humans would take the fight to the Dominion's core fleet, using ambushes, misdirection, and boarding operations to strike critical points. Unlike conventional forces, they would not wait to be attacked. They would force the Dominion into chaos, making them fight on human terms. The fleet approached the Dravon sector under the cover of an asteroid field. Sensors detected Dominion patrols already scanning the area. Ilara called her captains. Listen carefully. We will split into 3 squads. Squad 1 will lure the enemy into the asteroid field. Squad 2, led by Ramos, will hit the flanks and disable their weapons. Squad 3, my team, will board their flagship and target command systems directly. Timing and coordination are critical. Any mistake, and we lose everything. The humans moved with precision, but flexibility. Every pilot and crew member knew they had the freedom to adapt if circumstances changed. This unpredictability was their greatest weapon. As Squad 1 engaged the Dominion's vanguard, explosions lit the asteroid field. Large Viewership vessels fired blindly, trying to hit the smaller human ships weaving between rocks. The humans anticipated, every move dodging lasers, firing back and guiding the enemy deeper into traps. Squad 2 struck the flanks using fast ships to disable weapon systems and shield generators. Small teams boarded larger vessels, placing charges to cripple engines and disrupt coordination. Dominion officers were thrown into panic. Their ships collided, shields failed, and communications became chaotic. Ilara and her team approached the Dominion flagship, once again the heart of their power. She had studied its weaknesses, planning every step meticulously. Boarding pods were deployed, racing toward weak points in the hull. Humans boarded swiftly, taking down guards with non-lethal incapacitation whenever possible. The Dominion soldiers were skilled, but humans fought unpredictably, striking where no one expected. Inside the flagship, alarms blared. "Breach in sectors 7 and 9. Multiple intruders detected," a Viewership officer shouted. Panic spread. The Dominion relied on rigid procedures, but humans ignored conventions. They moved fast, disabling control panels, overloading energy nodes, and isolating key officers. Ilara led her boarding team toward the command center. Every door, corridor, and station had been mapped, yet humans thrived on improvisation. When a corridor was blocked, they used maintenance shafts. When sensors detected movement, they created distractions elsewhere. The Dominion was being outsmarted at every turn. Meanwhile, above the flagship, human ships continued their assault. Fighters darted between energy blasts, striking at weak points identified by drones. Explosions tore through hull sections, but civilians and crew alike remained focused on the larger objective. The flagship shuddered under the attacks. Cooling systems were failing, weapons were offline, and crew morale was collapsing. Ilara reached the command center, confronting the Dominion commander personally. "You rely on fear and numbers," she said calmly. "You underestimate ingenuity, courage, and unpredictability. That is why you fail." The commander, furious, lunged to activate emergency systems. Ilara's team moved faster. In moments, control was seized. The flagship became immobilized, a symbol of human tenacity. With the flagship disabled, the rest of the Dominion fleet faltered. Ships without central command were chaotic. Humans pressed their advantage, exploiting gaps and striking critical points. Even the largest vessels could not recover from the unpredictability of human tactics. Ramos coordinated Squad 2's attacks. "Captain, the rest of the fleet is retreating. They don't know what to do without their flagship." Ilara smiled faintly. "That's exactly what we wanted. Don't let up. Every strike matters." The Dominion's control collapsed entirely. Their once feared fleet scattered into the void, some retreating, others destroyed in panic. Planetary systems under their rule began rebelling as the Viewership's grip loosened. Humans had shown that even the mightiest empire could crumble under pressure, intelligence, and courage. Back on the Intrepid, Ilara addressed her fleet. "Today, we have changed the course of the galaxy. The Dominion may regroup, but they will never again see humans as insignificant. Every system we save, every ship we defend, every life we protect strengthens the fire of resistance. Remember that. This victory is not just ours. It belongs to every human who refuses to be conquered." Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread like wildfire. Humans were no longer passive subjects. Colonies rose in defiance. Planets once silent under Dominion control now sent ships to join Ilara's fleet. The spark of rebellion had ignited a chain reaction that could not be stopped. Even within the Dominion, doubt and fear spread. Leaders questioned their tactics, their assumptions, and their understanding of humans. The phrase, "they are unpredictable," became common in command centers. The once unshakable empire had been shaken to its core by one small, determined human warship and a fleet that refused to follow the expected rules of war. Alara knew this was only the beginning. The Dominion would rebuild, but humans would be ready. Every battle taught new lessons, revealed weaknesses, and strengthened their unity. The galaxy was changing, and humans were no longer passive players. They were architects of a new order. As the Intrepid and its fleet returned to friendly space, celebrations erupted on nearby colonies. Pilots, engineers, and civilians shared stories of courage, improvisation, and clever strategies. Every survivor understood the power of ingenuity and collaboration. Humans had proven they could face overwhelming force and survive even triumph. Alara stood on the bridge watching the stars. She knew the Dominion was not defeated entirely, but their aura of invincibility was broken. The galaxy had seen humans fight and win, not with the largest fleets or the deadliest weapons, but with courage, intelligence, and relentless determination. "Captain," Ramos said quietly, "we've changed everything." Alara nodded. "Not just yet, Ramos. But we've shown the first cracks. The Dominion will remember this day, and the galaxy will remember humans." The fleet continued its journey through the stars, ready for whatever came next. Resistance was growing, systems were uniting, and hope was spreading. Humans were no longer hiding, they were rising. And every world they touched would soon understand that nothing could crush the spirit of a determined human. The Dominion had fallen, in part, because it underestimated its opponent. Humans were small, adaptable, and unpredictable. They survived, in hostile environments, outsmarted larger forces, and refused to surrender. One warship, one fleet, one captain had begun a chain reaction that could change the fate of the galaxy forever. The galaxy had changed. The shadow of the Viric Dominion no longer stretched unchallenged across the stars. Once feared warships drifted in disarray, planetary systems once shackled by the Dominion's rule now dared to rise. And at the center of it all, the Intrepid, led by Captain Alara Kane, carried the spirit of human defiance into the void. After the decisive battle in the Draven sector, humans had gained more than victories. They had gained recognition. Colonies sent ships to join Kane's fleet. Engineers, scientists, and pilots, once scattered across the galaxy, now worked together, sharing strategies and innovations. Every skirmish, every victory, every human life saved became a story of hope and proof that ingenuity could overcome brute force. Alara stood on the bridge of the Intrepid, gazing at the galactic map. Colored dots marked human fleets and allied systems, while the remnants of the Dominion's once unstoppable armada were scattered, isolated, and vulnerable. Ramos approached quietly. "Captain, reports are coming in from multiple sectors. Colonies that were silent under the Dominion's rule are now sending reinforcements. They're ready to rise." Alara nodded. "Good. This is what I hoped for. Fear binds an empire, but hope frees people. Humans are proof that even the smallest spark can ignite a galaxy-wide fire." The next target was Tavros IV, a heavily fortified world that had served as a Dominion stronghold for centuries. Its orbital defenses were formidable, its garrison disciplined. Conventional fleets would have needed months of siege, but humans had no time for conventional warfare. They relied on ingenuity, surprise, and teamwork. As the human fleet approached, Kane called her captains together. "Listen, Tavros IV is not just a target, it's a symbol. We take it, and other systems will see that even the heart of the Dominion can be challenged. But we will not fight like they expect. We fight smart. Small teams, coordinated strikes, sabotage, and misdirection. Hit them where it hurts, confuse them, and never give them time to adapt." The fleet moved into position. Small fighter squadrons darted through asteroid belts, evading orbital defenses. Stealth drones infiltrated communications arrays, spreading false reports and delaying counterattacks. Human engineers prepared specialized charges to disable shield generators and weapon systems simultaneously. Every human had a role, every move planned, yet flexibility was encouraged. Humans thrived on improvisation. Suddenly, a Dominion warship detected the fleet. Its alarms blared. Kane smiled faintly. Ramos, trigger the diversion teams. Let's see how well they follow their protocols under pressure. Human ships split, weaving unpredictably, while drones created multiple false targets. Dominion gunners fired, but every shot was aimed at decoys. In the confusion, boarding teams approached weak points in the planet's orbital defenses. Explosions tore through control hubs, sending shockwaves of chaos through Tavros 4's garrison. On the surface, civilians and engineers trained for years by Kane's fleet activated emergency protocols. Traps, barricades, and defensive drones hindered any attempt at organized resistance. The Dominion soldiers were skilled, but their rigid command structure made them predictable. Humans used that predictability against them, turning strategy into improvisation and fear into opportunity. Ilara led a boarding team to the orbital command center. Every corridor was mapped, every security protocol studied, but humans never relied solely on plans. When a hallway was blocked, they found another path. When sensors detected movement, they created diversions elsewhere. Dominion officers were confused, isolated, and overwhelmed. Meanwhile, above the planet, the Intrepid and its supporting ships fired coordinated strikes. Shields flickered, weapons failed, and entire defense arrays were disabled. Within hours, Tavros 4 was under human control. The Dominion's presence on the planet was reduced to scattered survivors, hiding, terrified, and powerless. Kane addressed her fleet. Today, we have done more than capture a world. We have shattered the illusion that the Dominion is invincible. Every system, every fleet, every human watching now knows. Resistance is possible. Humans are not prey. Humans are leaders, innovators, and protectors. This is our time. Word of Tavros 4's liberation spread quickly. Colonies once too afraid to act began raising fleets, organizing militias, and reclaiming territory. The spark of human resistance had grown into a wildfire, unstoppable, consuming fear and inspiring courage. In the Dominion's remaining command centers, panic spread. The once feared empire, built on discipline, strategy, and intimidation, had been outmaneuvered by a species they considered insignificant. Leaders argued, blamed each other, and struggled to maintain control. Every failed attack, every loss, reinforced the realization that humans could not be crushed by numbers or firepower alone. Kane's fleet moved to consolidate their gains. Systems once isolated now communicated freely, sharing intelligence, supplies, and strategies. The humans were no longer scattered. They were a network, a force united by shared experience, determination, and the belief that the galaxy could be changed. Ramos approached Kane as she reviewed galactic communications. "Captain, the Dominion has sent envoys. They want to negotiate. They're cautious but clearly afraid." Ilara's eyes narrowed. "Negotiation is only meaningful when both sides are strong. We have proven our strength. But we do not strike blindly. We maintain readiness and we protect every system that stands with us. Humans are not conquered, and the Dominion will not forget that lesson." Across the galaxy, colonies celebrated. Ships flew in formation, civilians cheered, and entire worlds experienced a newfound sense of empowerment. Humans were no longer passive survivors. They were champions of their own destiny. Even among the Dominion survivors, a grudging respect emerged. Humans had survived every challenge, adapted to every threat, and struck decisively when opportunity appeared. Their ingenuity, courage, and unity were not weaknesses. They were weapons more powerful than any fleet, any weapon, any threat the Dominion had faced. Kane addressed her crew for the final time before returning to human-controlled space. "Look at what we have accomplished," she said. "The galaxy feared us, underestimated us, and tried to crush us. But we endured, we adapted, and we overcame. The Dominion is no longer untouchable. Every world we save, every fleet we train, every life we protect strengthens the future. Humans are not just survivors, we are a force the galaxy cannot ignore. The Intrepid led its fleet into a bright star system, the sun reflecting off the hulls of human ships. The galaxy had been changed, and humans were no longer shadows in the dark. They were leaders, innovators, and protectors. They had proven that courage, ingenuity, and determination could reshape entire empires. And as Captain Kane looked at the stars stretching endlessly before her, she knew one thing for certain. The human race had arrived, not as pawns, not as prey, but as architects of a new era. The galaxy had been reborn, and humans stood at the center ready to defend it, explore it, and shape it with their indomitable spirit. The Dominion had fallen, not entirely destroyed, but shattered in pride and power. Humans would always remain, vigilant, ready for the next challenge. But they had learned an essential truth. No empire, no matter how powerful, could predict or contain the human spirit. Above the galaxy, stars twinkled like silent witnesses to the rise of a species once underestimated. The Intrepid sailed onward, carrying not just a fleet but the hope of countless worlds. Humanity had conquered not with fear, but with courage. Not with numbers, but with ingenuity. And the galaxy would remember. For the first time in history, humans were no longer the hunted. They were the defenders, the innovators, the champions of a galaxy reborn. And under Captain Alara Kane, they would never again be overlooked. The galaxy was alive with possibility, and humanity had proven one. Simple truth: when humans rise, nothing, not even the greatest empire, can hold them down.